The morning light filtered through the crystal spires of the hive city, casting rainbow shadows across the empty market square. Most of the bright wings were already busy with their daily tasks, their natural glow pulsing in the familiar blue-green pattern that marked their species. But in a small dwelling at the edge of the city, one family's light shimmered differently. "Stay inside, little ones," Mother whispered to her 3 children, her own body glowing with a distinctive golden light instead of the normal blue-green. She gently stroked their antennae, trying to comfort them as angry voices echoed from the street outside. Father stood by the window, his golden light dimmed to almost nothing as he watched the crowd gathering. Like his mate and children, his body produced a different colored light than the rest of their kind. It wasn't their fault. A simple genetic mutation had changed their bioluminescence from blue-green to gold. But on their world, being different was dangerous. "They're coming again," Father said quietly, moving away from the window. "Pack what you can carry." The youngest child, barely old enough to fly, bumped against the wall in fear, his golden light flickering erratically. His older siblings helped steady him, their own lights pulsing with worry. They had been through this before, moving from district to district as their neighbors discovered their difference and drove them out. Outside, the crowd grew larger. "Leave our district," someone shouted. "Your strange light brings bad luck," called another. The family had heard it all before. Last week, the food merchants had refused to serve them. Yesterday, the water purifier for their section of the hive had mysteriously stopped working, but only for their home. Mother quickly gathered their few belongings into travel sacks. They had learned to live with less, knowing they might need to move at any moment. The children helped, their small hands carefully wrapping their school tablets, now useless since they'd been banned from attending classes. A rock shattered their window, sending crystal shards across the floor. Father's antennae twitched in alarm. "We must go now." The family hurried to their back exit, a small tunnel they had carefully prepared for exactly this situation. As they crawled through the narrow space, they could hear the crowd breaking into their home above. The youngest one started to cry, but his sister gently covered his light-producing organs with her wings, hiding his glow. They emerged several blocks away, in an abandoned storage area. Father pulled out their emergency communicator, the last piece of technology they had managed to keep. His hand shook as he activated it, sending out yet another plea for help to other hive cities. "Someone will answer," Mother said, but her voice wavered. They had sent similar messages before. The responses were always the same: polite refusals, citing cultural preservation laws or community harmony regulations. The oldest child, showing wisdom beyond his years, pulled up the emergency map they had prepared. "There's a small trading port 3 districts away," he said. "Maybe we can find a ship." Father nodded. The spaceport was their last hope on this world. Perhaps they could find passage to one of the allied species' planets. Surely someone would help them. They waited until dark, when the city's natural bioluminescence would help hide their golden glow. Moving as quietly as possible, the family made their way through back alleys and maintenance tunnels. Every shadow made them freeze. Every distant voice sent them scrambling for cover. The youngest one was getting tired, his wings drooping. Mother carried him, wrapping him in her own wings to hide his light. The middle child kept looking back, his antennae twitching at every sound. The oldest led the way, checking their map constantly. Finally, they'd reached the spaceport's outer fence. Through the barrier, they could see ships of various species docked for trading. Somewhere in that collection of vessels might be their escape route, their chance for a new life. "Look," the middle child whispered, pointing to a notice board near the gate. The family's image was displayed prominently, a warning to all ships not to offer them passage. Their own government had marked them as undesirables. Mother pulled her children close, her golden light dimming with despair. Father's antennae drooped as he read the official notice. They were trapped. No ships would take them. No other worlds would accept them. They huddled together in the shadow of the spaceport wall, their unique golden light binding them together even as it set them apart from everyone else. They were alone, outcasts on their own world, with nowhere left to turn. Above them, beyond the crystal spires of their hive city, the stars twinkled quietly. Somewhere out there, though they didn't know it yet, humanity was about to change their fate forever. The family spent 3 days hiding near the spaceport, watching ships come and go. Father had managed to trade their last valuable possession, Mother's ceremonial wing decorations, for enough food to keep them alive. Their golden glow grew dimmer each day as their energy reserves dropped. On the 4th morning, they got lucky. A cargo ship's security scanner malfunctioned, creating a brief gap in the port's detection grid. The family seized their chance, flying quickly through the gap and hiding in the shadows between 2 large cargo containers. "Look," the oldest child whispered, pointing to a small transport ship. Its hull was marked with symbols of the Blue Star Alliance, a group of worlds known for their acceptance of refugees. The ship's cargo door was open as workers loaded supplies. They waited until the workers took a break, then flew as fast as they could toward the open door. The youngest one almost fell behind, his wings still weak, but his sister caught him and pulled him along. They'd made it inside just as the workers returned. The ship's cargo hold was cold and dark, perfect for hiding their glow. They found a space between some secured crates and huddled together, hardly daring to breathe as the cargo door sealed shut. The engines hummed to life, and they felt the ship lift off. "We did it," Mother whispered, holding her children close. But Father's antennae twitched worriedly. They still had to avoid detection during the journey, and somehow convince the Blue Star worlds to take them in. The journey lasted 3 days. The family rationed their small food supply carefully, keeping their energy use low to minimize their glow. They learned to time their movement with the ship's routine inspections, hiding deeper in the cargo hold whenever footsteps approached. Finally, the ship's engines changed tone, signaling their approach to their destination. Through a small gap in the hull, they could see the massive form of Unity Station, the Blue Star Alliance's pride and joy. The space station was huge, home to dozens of different species living and working together. The ship docked smoothly. The family waited until most of the cargo was unloaded, then slipped out during a shift change. The station's massive corridors were overwhelming after the confined space of the cargo hold. Multiple species walked past them, too busy with their own tasks to notice 5 dimly glowing insects. They made their way to the refugee processing center, hope building in their hearts. Surely here, among so many different species, they would find acceptance. The youngest one's glow brightened with excitement as they approached the center's doors. But their hope didn't last long. "Request denied," the processing officer said flatly, all 4 of their eyes fixed on a data screen. "Your species has filed a galaxy-wide alert. You are listed as unauthorized immigrants. Harboring you would violate 3 different treaties." "Please," Mother begged, her golden light pulsing with desperation. "Our children haven't eaten properly in days. We'll take any work, live anywhere." "Request denied," the officer repeated, already turning to the next person in line. "Please leave before I call security." They tried other help centers on the station. Each time, the response was the same. Their own government had made sure no one would help them. Some officials were polite about the rejection. Others threatened to report them. One even suggested they return home and try to fit in better. Their situation grew worse when their ship's crew discovered evidence of their stowaway passage. The station authorities were alerted. Now they couldn't even walk openly in the corridors. They hid in maintenance tunnels, surviving on discarded food and recycled water. The family found an abandoned maintenance bay to hide in. The station's artificial day/night cycle meant little to them now as they huddled in their dark corner. The youngest one had stopped glowing entirely, too weak to produce light. His siblings shared their last food with him, but it wasn't enough. "What do we do now?" the middle child asked, watching his brother's dim light flicker dangerously. Father wrapped his wings around his family. Their golden light, once bright and beautiful, had faded to a sickly yellow. "We keep trying," he said, but his voice shook. "Someone must help us." Through the bay's viewport, they could see ships of all kinds docking and departing. Each one represented another chance for escape, but also another risk of discovery. They were trapped again, this time in a station full of people who either feared them or didn't care. None of them noticed the small cargo ship that had just docked nearby, its hull marked with unfamiliar symbols. None of them knew that its crew came from a world called Earth, or that humans had very different ideas about helping those in need. Tom rubbed his tired eyes as he walked through Unity Station's maintenance level. His cargo ship had docked an hour ago, and he needed to file some repair requests before they could leave. The station's repair office was somewhere in this maze of corridors, but the signs weren't much help. "Should have brought the map," he muttered, turning another corner. The lighting was dim here, making the corridor feel abandoned. As he walked past an old maintenance bay, something caught his eye. A faint golden glow coming through the door's crack. Tom stopped. The glow was barely visible, but something about it seemed wrong. Emergency lights were usually red or white, not golden. He checked his tablet. No maintenance work was scheduled for this section. "Hello," he called out softly, pushing the door open. "Anyone in here?" The golden light vanished instantly. Tom pulled out his flashlight and stepped inside. The bay was cluttered with old equipment and spare parts. His light beam swept across the room, finally catching movement behind a stack of crates. "It's okay," he said, lowering his flashlight. "I won't hurt you. Are you hurt? Do you need help?" A moment of silence followed. Then, very slowly, a dim golden light appeared. Tom's eyes widened as he made out the shapes. Insect-like aliens, 5 of them, huddled together. Their bodies gave off a weak golden glow. The smallest one suddenly collapsed, its light flickering out completely. The others gathered around it in panic, their antennae moving frantically. Tom didn't hesitate. He pulled out his emergency medical kit and stepped forward. "Let me help," he said, already opening the kit. "I have food and water." The adult aliens, parents, he guessed, looked at each other, their antennae twitching. Then one of them moved forward slightly, gesturing at the unconscious child. Tom handed them emergency ration packs and his water bottle. He watched as they carefully fed the smallest one, who slowly began to glow again. The other children ate quickly but shared everything with their sick sibling. "I'm Tom," he said quietly, sitting down to appear less threatening. "I'm human, from Earth. We're pretty new around here." He pointed to the Earth logo on his jacket. The adult aliens looked confused, probably never having heard of Earth. One of them, Tom guessed it was the father, moved forward and pointed to himself, making a series of clicking sounds. Tom pulled out his tablet and opened the translation app he used for trade. After some attempts, they managed basic communication. The family's story came out bit by bit. Their genetic difference, the persecution, their escape, and the rejection they faced everywhere. "And no one would help you?" Tom asked, feeling angry at the situation. The father's antennae drooped as he confirmed this. Tom stood up, his mind made up. "Well, that changes now. I'm helping you." He called his ship's doctor, Betty, who arrived quickly with more medical supplies. She examined the youngest child while Tom went to get more food and water. When he returned, Betty's face was serious. "The little one needs proper medical care," she said. "They're all malnourished, but he's in bad shape. They can't stay here." Tom nodded and turned to the family. "Come with us," he said through the translator. "We have space on our ship. We can help." The parents' antennae shot up in surprise. The mother made rapid clicking sounds that the translator struggled with, but the meaning was clear. They were afraid of being turned in to the authorities. "That's not how humans work," Tom said firmly. "We don't abandon people who need help. That's not our way." A station security alert suddenly blared through the speakers. Someone had reported unusual readings from this sector. The family's lights dimmed in fear. "No time to argue," Tom said, standing up. "Betty, take the parents and younger ones. I'll carry the sick child. Our ship is just 2 sections away." The family looked at each other, then at the humans offering help when everyone else had turned them away. The youngest one's glow was fading again. They had no choice but to trust these strange new aliens. As they hurried through the maintenance corridors, the family's golden light grew just a bit brighter. For the first time in months, they felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. Getting the alien family to the ship was only the first challenge. As Tom and Betty guided them through the maintenance corridors, station security alerts kept blaring overhead. The family's golden glow, though weak, made them easy to spot in the dark passages. "Almost there," Tom whispered, carrying the unconscious youngest child. The little one's light was barely visible now. In front of them, Betty led the way with the parents and other children, checking each corner before moving forward. They were 1 corridor away from their ship when a station security officer stepped out in front of them. His uniform displayed the Blue Star Alliance badge, and his hand rested on his weapon. "Stop right there," the officer said. "Those are unauthorized refugees. Hand them over." Betty stepped forward, positioning herself between the officer and the family. "We're providing emergency medical care. That's allowed under Station Medical Code 47B. They're illegal immigrants," the officer insisted. "Their own government has ordered their return. Step aside." Tom felt the small alien child stir in his arms, its glow flickering weakly. "This child is dying," he said firmly. "Move aside, or explain to your superiors why you let a child die when help was available." The officer hesitated. Tom recognized that look, the conflict between orders and conscience. He pressed on. "You can report us. File whatever paperwork you need. But right now, move aside." After what felt like forever, the officer stepped back. "I didn't see you," he said quietly. "But hurry, more patrols are coming." They rushed the final distance to Tom's ship, the Star Wanderer. The cargo ramp was already down, with crew members keeping watch. As soon as they were aboard, Tom ordered an emergency departure. "Captain," his first officer, Mike, called out. "Station Control is denying our launch request. They're threatening to impound the ship." Tom carefully handed the sick child to Betty, who rushed to the medical bay with the family. He headed to the bridge, his mind racing. "Get me a channel to Earth Embassy." The communications officer worked quickly, and soon the embassy official appeared on screen. Tom explained the situation rapidly, emphasizing the medical emergency. The official frowned. "Captain, you're asking us to challenge multiple treaties." "I'm asking you to save a family," Tom interrupted. "They're dying because their own people fear them for being different. Is that what humanity stands for? Letting fear win?" There was a long pause. Then the official smiled slightly. "Directing you to new frequency. Our medical attaché wants to speak with your doctor." What happened next surprised everyone. Word spread through human channels about the family situation. Other human ships in the station began calling Station Control, requesting emergency departure alongside the Star Wanderer. Earth social media exploded with the story. "Sir," Mike called out, "3 more human ships have positioned themselves between us and the station's tractor beams. They're saying they're conducting emergency maintenance." Tom grinned. Messages of support flooded their communications. Human doctors offered advice for treating the sick child. Earth refugee organizations began filing emergency petitions. Even some alien crews, inspired by the humans' actions, began questioning their own authorities. The station authorities found themselves facing a unique problem. Humans might be new to galactic society, but they were important trading partners. And now those humans were united in protecting one small family. Betty's voice came over the intercom from Medical Bay. "The little one's stabilizing. Their glow is getting stronger, but we need to get them to better facilities soon." "Captain," Mike said suddenly, "Station Control is calling. They're granting us emergency departure clearance. Under protest, but they're letting us go." Tom looked at his crew, seeing the pride in their faces. No one had questioned helping the family. No one had hesitated to risk their jobs, their ship, even their freedom. They had simply done what humans do: help those in need. He opened the ship-wide channel. Everyone, secure for departure. We're taking our new friends to safety. The ship hummed as engines powered up. In the medical bay, the alien family watched in amazement as their golden glow was reflected in the smiles of their human rescuers. For the first time, their difference wasn't met with fear or hatred, but with acceptance and help. The Star Wanderer lifted off from Unity Station, surrounded by a protective escort of human ships. Above them, the stars beckoned with new promise. Sometimes the greatest resistance against injustice isn't fought with weapons, but with simple human compassion. 3 days into their journey to Earth, Betty made an amazing discovery in the medical bay. She had been running tests to help treat the alien family when her scanner picked up something unusual about their golden glow. "Tom, you need to see this," she called over the intercom. "Bring the translator." When Tom arrived, the family was looking much better. Their golden light shone brighter now that they were properly fed and rested. The youngest one was sitting up, playing with some medical sensors that fascinated him. "Watch this," Betty said. She held up a scanner near the mother's glowing wings. The scanner's screen showed complex patterns of light waves. Their bioluminescence isn't just light. It's carrying information, like a biological data stream. Tom looked confused. What kind of information? Medical data. Their bodies naturally broadcast their health status through light patterns. The normal blue-green glow their species has, it only shows basic information. But this golden light, Betty's eyes were bright with excitement. It carries much more detailed data. It could revolutionize medical scanning technology. Through the translator, they explained this to the family. The father's antennae twitched in surprise. "Our glow was meant to help," he asked. "All this time, they called us broken, but we were advanced." "Not broken," Tom said firmly. "Just ahead of your time." The news spread quickly through human space. Medical researchers were fascinated. The family's unique mutation wasn't a defect. It was an improvement. Their bodies had evolved to share more detailed medical information through their light. The Mars colony was the first to officially offer sanctuary. "Our medical research center would be honored to work with the family," the colony governor announced. "Their knowledge could help us develop better health monitoring systems for our deep space missions." Earth governments quickly followed, granting emergency refugee status to the family. Legal teams began working to challenge the family's homeworld's claims. The story caught the public's imagination. The family that glowed gold wasn't cursed, but gifted. "Look at these messages," Mike showed Tom his tablet. People all over Earth and Mars were offering help. Schools for the children, housing offers, job opportunities, doctors eager to learn from their unique biology. The youngest child, now fully recovered, flew excited loops around the medical bay when they heard the news. His golden light pulsed with joy, creating beautiful patterns that the medical scanners recorded with interest. Their light patterns change with their emotions, Betty explained, watching the scanner. "Think about it. Immediate, visual indication of physical and emotional health. No more guessing how a patient feels. No more missed symptoms." The mother approached Tom, the translator in her hands. "Why?" she asked simply. "Why do humans help us when everyone else turned away?" Tom thought carefully before answering. "Humans know what it's like to be different. In our history, we often feared what was different or new. We learned the hard way that diversity makes us stronger, that differences can be gifts." He showed them videos of Earth and Mars. The family watched in amazement as they saw humans of all colors and types living and working together. They saw how human medical science used differences to help everyone, how studying unique conditions led to breakthroughs that helped all. "On Mars," Tom explained, "you'll be part of our community. Your children can go to school. You can work with our doctors to help others. Your difference won't be feared. It will be celebrated." The father's antennae moved thoughtfully. Our people forgot to look past their fear, he said. They forgot that nature creates differences for a reason. Nature is smarter than we are, Betty agreed. Sometimes what looks like a mutation is really an evolution. You're not meant to be exactly like everyone else. You're meant to help your species grow. The Star Wanderer's communication system beeped. New messages were arriving. Medical journals requesting interviews, research centers offering collaboration, schools welcoming the children. The family gathered around the screen, their golden light reflecting off the display, creating beautiful patterns that the humans now understood were expressions of hope and joy. As they flew toward Mars, the family's glow grew stronger each day. What their own people saw as a curse, humans recognized as a gift. Sometimes the best solutions come from those who aren't afraid to see beauty in differences. The Star Wanderer's journey to Mars should have taken 2 weeks, but 1 week into their trip, Tom received an urgent message from their rear sensors. 3 ships approaching fast. Mike reported from his station. They're from the family's home world. They're demanding we hand over the fugitives. Tom looked at the sensor display. The ships were warships, bigger than his cargo vessel. On the medical deck below, the alien family's golden glow would be dimming with fear. Message from the lead ship. The communications officer called out. They say we're violating their sovereign rights. They're threatening to disable our engines. Tom pressed the ship-wide communication button. Betty, get the family to the inner chambers. Everyone else. Battle stations. He wasn't going to give up the family now, not after they'd come so far. But before the pursuing ships could get closer, something wonderful happened. Space around the Star Wanderer lit up as ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Human ships. Lots of them. This is the Earth Medical Transport Mercy. A new voice announced on all channels. We are conducting a medical evacuation under Article 7 of the Galactic Health Code. Any interference will be considered an act of aggression against Earth. More ships appeared. Research vessels, mining ships, even a few small military escorts, all human ships that had been in nearby sectors, all responding to the emergency call Tom had sent out. Message from Mars Defense Fleet, the communications officer said, grinning. They're sending ships to escort us the rest of the way. They say the whole colony is waiting to welcome the family. The pursuing warships slowed down. Their own government hadn't expected such a strong human response. After a tense hour, they turned around and left. Tom went down to tell the family they were safe. He found them in the medical bay, their golden light creating beautiful patterns on the walls. Betty was teaching the children human games to keep them calm. Your people came after us, the father said through the translator, his antennae drooping. And our people came to help you, Tom replied. That's what matters. The rest of the journey became a time of learning and sharing. The family was eager to learn about their new home. Betty taught them about Mars colony's medical research. The children learned simple English words, mixing them with their clicking language in a way that made everyone smile. The crew learned too. They discovered that the family's light patterns were a language all their own. The children taught them how different pulses of light meant different things. Happy, sad, thank you, friend. Look, the youngest one said excitedly one day, pointing out the viewport. He had learned this human word early. The red planet Mars was growing larger in their view. The next few days were busy with preparation. Ships from all over human space sent supplies and welcome gifts. The Mars colony governor gave daily updates about the new home being prepared for the family. Medical researchers sent equipment designed to work with their unique biology. But the most touching moments were the small ones, the way the children now glowed bright gold without fear when they played, how the parents' antennae relaxed when talking with the crew, the way they all learned to trust again. There's something you should see, Tom told the family as Mars grew closer. He led them to the ship's observation deck and pointed to a video screen showing news from Earth and Mars. Thousands of humans had put golden lights in their windows in support of the family. Schools were teaching about the importance of accepting differences. Medical students were already studying how the family's gift could help others. "You see," Tom said softly, "you're not alone anymore." The family's glow pulsed with emotion as Mars filled their view. Behind them, a protective fleet of human ships escorted them toward their new home. Their light reflected off the ship's hulls, creating a golden pathway through space. They had started their journey as outcasts, rejected by their own kind, but they would finish it surrounded by a new kind of family, one that saw their difference not as a flaw, but as a light that could help guide the way to a better future. 1 year had passed since the golden glowing family arrived on Mars. The red planet's biggest dome city had become their home, and what a difference a year had made. The youngest child zoomed through the air of the medical center, his golden light bright and strong. He carried a tablet in his small hands, helping the doctors collect light pattern readings from patients. The medical staff had learned that his species' ability to see subtle light changes made them excellent at spotting early warning signs of illness. "Careful with the equipment," his mother called out in nearly perfect English. She stood with a team of researchers, her own golden glow being used to test new medical scanning devices. What her people had seen as a curse had become a gift to human medicine. The detailed health information in their light patterns had helped create new ways to detect diseases early. The father had found his place too. He worked with the colony's emergency response team, using his light-sensing abilities to find people in the dark tunnels under the dome when equipment failed. Last month, he had saved 3 miners during a power outage, leading them to safety by the light of his golden glow. "Ready for school?" Tom asked the 2 older children as he passed through the medical center. After helping the family settle on Mars, he had decided to take a job at the colony instead of returning to space. The children clicked happily in response, their English still a work in progress but improving every day. The colony's school had welcomed them warmly. Human children were fascinated by their new classmates who could glow in the dark. The family's children, in turn, were amazed by human art, music, and games. They had started a new trend, light-pattern dance shows that combined their natural glow with human music. But the biggest change wasn't just on Mars. News of the family's successful integration had spread throughout human space and beyond. Other alien species who faced discrimination had begun seeking human help. The Earth Embassy now had a special department for handling refugee cases. Message from the Blue Star Alliance. Tom's tablet beeped. The same station that had once refused to help the family was now asking for advice. Other species had started questioning their own prejudices after seeing how humans had turned the family's difference into an advantage. Even the family's homeworld was slowly changing. Young members of their species had begun protesting the treatment of those who were different. The old fears were giving way to new understanding, sparked by reports of how the cursed golden glow was actually helping save lives. The mother finished her work with the researchers and flew over to Tom. "The governor wants us to speak at next week's medical conference," she said, her antennae moving proudly. "They think our light patterns might help with the new deep space mission monitors." Tom smiled, remembering the frightened family they had found hiding in that maintenance bay. Now they were respected members of the community, their unique abilities valued and celebrated. The youngest one landed nearby, his tablet full of new patient data. Tom, he called out excitedly. "I helped find 6 spots in 3 people today." The doctor said I did good. "You did great," Tom corrected gently, still smiling. The child's golden glow pulsed with happiness at the praise. That evening, the family gathered in their home pod, its windows looking out over the Martian landscape. The dome's artificial sky was darkening, making their golden light seem even brighter. Other families in nearby pods had put up golden lights in their windows, a tradition that had started with their arrival and never stopped. "Did you ever think," the father asked through their now seldom used translator, "that being different would turn out to be such a blessing?" The mother looked at their children, doing their homework while glowing softly. She watched the humans passing by their window, waving friendly greetings. She saw the medical center in the distance, where their unique ability was helping save lives every day. "The humans taught us something important," she said. Being different isn't a curse. It's just a different way of bringing light into the universe. Outside their window, the Martian sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. Their story had spread across the stars, a reminder that sometimes the things that make us different are the very things that make us special. And sometimes it takes a different kind of people, like humans, to help us see that our differences can light the way to a better future for everyone.